When Kaveri first saw the human prince, she knew at once that this was love. Love in the summer warmth of his eyes, in the way his hair would never lie flat, and the smiles he handed out like shooting stars. Love in the shape of his name, Leon, on her lips the first time she happened to hear it. Yes, this was love, and it broke every rule Kaveri had ever been taught about interacting with the world above the waves, which was why, as she approached the cave on the fringes of society, she didn't feel quite so guilty about breaking another one. The sea witch, Mahi, was an anomaly. A monster, they called her, and it was partly true. The girl in the cave had, rather than a fish tail like the rest of her people, the inky back tentacles of an octopus, and her skin was very pale. But her wavy hair framed her face like a halo, and she smiled with coral pink lips, and her eyes were kind and the color of pearls. And Kaveri decided right then that Mahi wasn't any kind of a monster. Mahi promised her a month on land, and asked for nothing in return. Well, she said, it would be nice if you would visit sometimes. It gets awfully lonely down here. Kaveri beamed at her and agreed. Not 5 minutes later, she was sitting on the beach, and her fins were gone. Leon found her there and took her home to the palace, as she had known he would. They spoke of the sea and of the sky, and the next day he took her all around the kingdom, to the market and the town square and the forest and the dress shop. In the evening she returned to the coast and sat on the rocks, and when the moon was halfway through the sky, Mahi appeared and smiled. Kaveri didn't waste a moment. She launched into the tales of her adventures, hands waving. Mahi's smile grew warmer. I'm happy, she said softly. Your happiness makes me happy. Kaveri threw her arms around her. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it became routine. In the day, Kaveri roamed the human world with Leon. She laughed, sang, and ran and danced, and Leon was sunshine by her side through it all. They were fast friends. Kaveri's only exposure to boys had always been her older brothers, and they were wonderful, but this was different and new, and it was freedom. In the night, she sat by the water and spoke with Mahi. This too was something new and different. It seemed she could talk about anything with Mahi. They understood each other, somehow, in ways Kaveri had never thought about before. If Leon was the sun, Mahi was the stars, and Kaveri shone under their light. It was the final day of her 1 month, and Kaveri was almost prepared. She knew it had to be today. Today that she revealed who she was, today that she told Leon how she felt, today that her life changed forever, one way or another. She did not feel as nervous or excited as she had on day 1. Leon was so familiar now, and although the depth of her feelings towards him had not diminished, the emotion seemed not entirely the same. Kaveri found herself picturing the night as she strode towards the ballroom, picturing the waiting smile on Mahi's face when Kaveri arrived to tell her the story. She entered the ballroom. Leon was there, and he was there with that prince from the neighboring kingdom, the one Leon had gone away to visit once or twice during their months together. They were very close, arms around each other, heads tilted as though just breaking from a kiss. Oh, Kaveri thought, and left the ballroom. She was not upset, or not as upset as perhaps she should have been. It was odd, but they had looked good together, the two princes, like they fit somehow. And Leon was such a wonderful friend, but seeing him like that, it suddenly seemed ridiculous to have imagined herself with him in that way. She tried to conjure the image again, and she saw herself, but not with Leon. No, this time she was with someone else. Oh, Kaveri thought. Oh. In the evening, Kaveri said goodbye to Leon, and she was truly sorry to leave him. But her sadness dissipated as she raced to the sea, shedding her clothes as she ran. In one smooth motion, she flung off the last of them and leapt, leaping down into the navy water. It was cold, like the first gust of clean air on a mountain outside the city. Her fins returned, scales gleaming under the refracted light of the moon. Mahi appeared, and today she did not smile, but frowned. "He doesn't love you?" she asked, straightforward as ever. "No," Kaveri said. "I'm sorry. I'm not." Mahi was still frowning. "You're not?" Kaveri took Mahi's hands into her own and smiled. "I love somebody else, you see." After a moment, Mahi smiled back. When Kaveri first saw the sea witch, she did not at first know that it was love. But love it was. Love in the winter sparkle of her eyes. Love in the way her hair glowed under the moonlight. Love in the smiles that were small and secretive and just for her. Love in the shape of her name on Kaveri's lips the first time they kissed. Yes, this was love. And it was the fire in the heart of the sea.